Hello everyone and welcome to the Thank Goddess podcast. It's Danny here, your host. Today I'm going to be doing another episode on astrology. I hope you enjoy these episodes. You may have noticed lately I've been talking a bit about astrology because it's something I'm really just deepening into myself, and some of you will know that I have recently started offering astrology readings, birth chart readings, and they've been doing really well so far. I've started reading a lot of people's charts as part of my offering, and it's really just deepening my understanding of astrology, and it's made me, I suppose, more passionate and feeling more inclined to talk more about it on this podcast, because I think a big aspect of me connecting to my divine feminine energy has been through astrology and learning my birth chart and understanding the feminine in my birth chart, and also understanding the cycles that we move through, which are reflected in the planets, right? And as above, so below. And I think there's so much wisdom in getting to know those cycles and those different archetypes and how they play out within ourselves. So that's why I feel called to do more episodes on astrology. So I hope you like them. Today we're going to be talking about the eclipse season that we're currently in at the time that I release this episode. So we would have had the partial lunar eclipse. For those of you in Melbourne in Australia, it was on the 18th of September at around 12:30 p.m. But for those of you in other parts of the world, it may have been on the 17th. And basically we're in an eclipse portal at the moment, an eclipse season. So I'm going to be talking about what does that mean more so from a spiritual point of view opposed to an astronomical point of view, and talk about some of the themes that we have this eclipse, and also what does an eclipse period actually mean for us, and how we're going to be feeling this energy. And also we have a solar eclipse happening on the 2nd or 3rd of October, depending where you are in the world. For those of us in Melbourne, it'll be on the 3rd of October. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what's kind of coming up for that as well. So basically the eclipse period officially starts, so it started this week on the 17th or 18th at the lunar eclipse, and then it carries through to the new moon solar eclipse on the 2nd or 3rd of October. And what I want to say is that usually the energy will be amplified in these 2 weeks. However, you may have already felt the eclipse energy before the official opening ceremony of the eclipse period, and you may feel the energies and the effects of the eclipse after the new moon, after the solar eclipse. So it's not like it's just in these 2 weeks and that's the only time we can feel these energies. It's just that this time that we're currently in is quite potent. And the reason why eclipses are, very significant, particularly for those of us on an evolutionary soul awakening, spiritual awakening journey, is because eclipses are seen as portals of change, of transformation. They are basically cosmic gateways to ascend you, to push you into your highest timeline. So before we incarnate as humans in this time-space reality that we're currently in, our soul chooses a path that it wants us to, I suppose, follow in this lifetime. Now, when we come here, we have the veil of forgetfulness, so we don't remember our mission and the direct path that our soul wanted us to take. And we do have free will, so we don't actually have to follow that path to a certain degree. I mean, that's a debatable topic, but I believe we have free will, and the soul can't, I suppose, interfere with telling us which direction to take. Like, we are having this human experience where we feel like we're making our decisions and we're choosing what's right or wrong for us. So to be in alignment with your soul is choosing the highest timeline, I suppose, that your soul really wanted you to walk. And I find that when you are in alignment, it's like things just start to flow. There's kind of like this ease, this even magnetism. It's like you're doing what you said you were going to do. And when you read people's astrology charts like I do, you can see like where they're maybe challenges are in this lifetime, where their gifts are. Kind of, it points you to, I suppose, how they're meant to be harnessing these gifts. And often when we connect to our authentic self and we actually just stay true to who we actually are and follow our passions, follow the things in our heart that, you know, that we truly desire from this deep place, not from the ego, but we desire it from like this pure heart space, right? Like, you know, we just like the things that we like for example, I love astrology, right? I can't make that up. I'm not doing astrology to be cool or to fit in with people. In fact, a lot of people will roll their eyes at astrology. A lot of people don't believe in astrology, you know. It's kind of, I mean, it's becoming more popular now, but I'm not doing it to fit in or anything. It's just something that's in my heart. It's a pure desire. And I believe when we follow our pure desires, these things in our hearts, whatever that may be, it's going to look different for everyone, but that leads us to our highest timeline. That leads us to the path that our soul came here to walk. And that's why no desire in your heart is there by accident, where it's here for you to manifest. But you actually have to believe in yourself. You have to do the shadow work we're going to talk a lot about shadow work today, but you have to do the shadow work in order to remove the blocks that are stopping you, not stopping you, but preventing you from stepping into your highest timeline, from doing what you came here to do. Often it's like limiting beliefs, thinking I'm not good enough, thinking I'm not worthy enough. It's often things like this that block us from living our best lives. And it's all in our head, it's all in our mind, and we have the power to choose a different belief. We have the power to rewire those old patterns, those old thoughts, limiting beliefs, the things that don't serve us. You know, that monkey mind that's always telling us, oh, you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough, or you're not pretty enough, or you're whatever the thing. We all have that, you know, that monkey mind, as the Buddhists call it. And it's up to us to kind of turn the volume of that monkey mind down and turn up the volume of our soul, of our intuition, of our heart, and listen to that deep calling within that's telling us exactly which direction to go in. So I think that kind of is such a beautiful introduction to the eclipse season, because eclipse seasons are all about your soul path, your soul's highest timeline, and stepping into that version of self and letting go of all the things that are preventing you from being that truest version of yourself, that most authentic version, shining your light whatever way that is in the world. You know, it's really about letting go of these old karmic baggage, karmic patterns, these things that just don't serve us. And so eclipses, when you think of it like that, like everything that's happening to you is happening for you. It's happening for your evolution, for your soul's growth, for you to step into your highest timeline. So when you come at it from that energy, from that perspective, eclipses are really exciting times. It's like, what's going to happen in these, you know, next couple of weeks? Because I always say with the eclipse season, expect the unexpected. Things can change quite drastically. I think a lot of the time people fear eclipses because they might think that, you know, you hear a lot of things like don't plan important things in an eclipse period, like don't book your wedding during an eclipse period. And I understand why people say that, because eclipses can be very unpredictable. So anything's possible, and that could be a really positive thing or it could be a really negative thing depending how you look at it, right? But it's really a time to embrace change, and a lot of us struggle with change. So this is not a time to resist change. This is a time to go with the flow. So if relationships are falling apart, and relationships are going to be a big piece to this eclipse period, we're going to talk about that today, about relationships and how they might be being impacted by what's happening astrologically. But I also want to say, if this could be a time, like everyone's going to feel this energy differently, it could be a time that pushes you onto your soul's path. So maybe if you're in a job that's not in alignment with what you're here to do, maybe if you're in a relationship that's not in alignment with who you're meant to be with and the kind of relationship you're meant to be with, you know, sometimes eclipse periods can bring up things that we don't really want to look at, that maybe we've been avoiding. You know, like maybe you're in this relationship that's just not, you know, that it's not your person. Like deep down, if you're like, you know, really true with yourself, true to yourself, you know, like this isn't the right person, but maybe you're afraid to be single. Maybe you're just staying with this person out of comfort. Maybe you've been with this person for like 10 years, or you're married, or you're like, you know, it's not the right person for you, but then you're afraid of like what's on the other side. Like I can't let go of what's comfortable and familiar to me. So you see, the energy in that is not, you know, that's not really what your soul came here to do. Your soul didn't come all the way to planet Earth to live this mediocre life where you're just, you know, living in your comfort zone and you're just never following your heart. Like, that's not what our souls came here to do. And that's what a lot of humans do, right? We're often acting out of fight or flight, or from our wounds, from our trauma responses. So we're scared of change. But the soul, who we truly are, the eternal self, is not afraid of change. It actually looks forward to change. It's like, ooh, evolution, transformation, growth. I'm excited. Okay, so this is a really soulful time. You need to kind of change your mindset to be that of your higher self, of your soul, okay? Because that's going to help you navigate this period more easily. So whatever's coming up, you're ready to deal with it because you know, this is serving me. This is serving me. You want that to be your attitude for this period. Okay, because they can be really transformational times that can really just, it doesn't even have to be bad. Like, I just want to say here, it might be you meeting your soulmate, right, during an eclipse period. It might be you, particularly with this axes that we have, with the Pisces Virgo axes, it could be a spiritual awakening, right? It could be that you wake up to who you truly are. It could be clarity on which direction you're meant to take. It could be really about, oh, I know what my purpose is. I know what my mission here is. So it doesn't have to be negative, okay? It could be really positive. So all I'm trying to say is eclipses are times, portals of change and transformation. So always think of it from that perspective. Now, let's speak specifically about the lunar eclipse that just passed, and what kind of energies we might be feeling from that, and then we'll talk about the solar eclipse at the end. So I mentioned that the 17th and 18th that happened this week, we had a partial lunar eclipse. So when we say partial lunar eclipse, it just means it's not super duper strong. However, the full moon was a super moon, so that kind of amplifies the energy in itself. When we talk about any kind of full moon, the moon in general, the moon represents our inner self. It represents our inner world, you know, how we feel nurtured, emotionally fed, emotionally nurtured. It represents our feelings, our inner world, right? And whenever we have a full moon, what happens? We know that the full moon, it raises the tides of the ocean, and it also raises our emotions. Our emotions are like the water, right? And it raises our emotions to the surface. So guess what? We can look at them, right? And we can, you know, do the shadow work. We can integrate what needs to be integrated, and we can release what no longer serves us. So that is always the purpose of a full moon. It's always like this culmination point, an ending, like what needs to be released, what do I need to let go of in order to birth this new version of self, this more authentic version of self, because we're always going through this death, birth, rebirth cycle. That very much is the feminine energy, right? And we all have feminine energy regardless if we're man or woman. And one thing that we're really learning or remembering, I suppose, because we live in this very masculine world, is how to move back and to realign with the cycles of nature and the cycles within ourselves. And so the moon can be a great way to attune to that natural cycle of life and within ourselves. So every time we have the full moon, it's kind of like the ending, like what needs to be released. So whenever you have an eclipse full moon, it just amplifies that energy of what needs to be released, what needs to be let go of, what's coming up to be resolved, to be looked at. And so when we talk about shadow work, really what we're talking about is looking at our shadows. The shadow just means hidden. It's something that we're not aware of usually. It's something we like keep from our consciousness. And so when we look at our shadows, we shine a light on it, like say we shine a torch on the shadow, what happens? the shadow disappears. It's not a shadow anymore. If we put light on the shadow, it disappears. And that's like what we need to do with these things that we don't want to look at, like maybe emotions like shame or guilt or rage or grief, you know, things that we tend to not want to feel, sadness, depression, anxiety, fear. We push it down, and when we push emotions down, they don't go away. We need to actually feel them in order to release them, right? You need to feel it in order to heal it. Otherwise it just gets stuck. It becomes blocked energy in the body, and basically it kind of creates kinks in our DNA, and we can't fully express our authentic self when we have all these blocks in our system. And it makes it really hard to manifest, you know, the life that you desire when your vibration is low. So when we have stagnant energy or blocked energy, it keeps our vibration at a lower frequency. So it makes it hard to become aligned with the things that we truly want, and that's why we might not be able to manifest what it is that we want. That's why it's so important to do shadow work, because it raises your vibration and it makes you a match to the things that you desire, and it helps you to access who you truly are, your soul, right? Your original soul blueprint, your authenticity, and to shine that more fully in the world. I just went on a bit of a tangent there, but I mean, it does relate, because this axis, so when we talk about a full moon, it's always the sun and moon in opposition, right? So the moon is in Pisces. So we have a Pisces full moon, and then we have Virgo. The sun is in Virgo. As you may be aware, it's Virgo season. So those two energies are kind of opposing each other. So when we talk about Pisces and Virgo, both of these are feminine signs. So they're both water and earth are feminine elements. So this is a very divine feminine partial lunar eclipse full moon. And so really what this is going to be highlighting within ourselves and the collective is our feminine energy, like maybe highlighting where we may be out of balance between our feminine and masculine energy. So when we talk about Pisces energy, Pisces is very much about the unseen. It's about intuition. That's really big right now. Like, are you listening to your intuition? Are you making decisions based on your intuition? Or are you very much in your masculine energy and prioritizing and valuing more of a logic and rationale, which is important, but we need to have balance, okay? So that might be coming up for you. Maybe you're having like very vivid dreams, because Pisces is very, you know, it's the 12th house. It's the most transcended house. So it's basically the bridge between this dimension and other dimensions. So, you know, it could be a time when you access like, you know, deeper states of consciousness and meditation. So it's a really good time to do like spiritual practices and connect with that aspect of you, connect with your soul, you know, the part of yourself, the part of you that you truly are, the part of you that no one really sees, like the you that when you're by yourself, when you're alone, it's just you. Who are you? And connecting with that self. And it's opposing Virgo, which is interesting because Virgo is very much about the body. It's an earth sign. So it's about taking this spiritual wisdom and can we ground it into our body? And that's very feminine, because the masculine is very much about meditating and leaving the body and ascending to higher realms, whereas the feminine is very much about being in the body. Like, it's about embodiment. Can I access God in this human vessel, in my lower chakras? Can I see the sacred in all things? Right? So Virgo is very much about our everyday routine. It's about, like I said, it's an earth element. It's very much about purification. So I feel like there's this real theme around what areas of our life do we need to purify, particularly our thoughts, particularly our limiting beliefs and those shadow aspects of self that are, I suppose, preventing us from fully embodying our divinity, right? Fully embodying our soul, you know, being like a walking, talking embodiment of our higher self, like what areas of our lives or what thoughts or habits are we, carrying out in our everyday that are kind of blocking us from that. Because I think what's really being highlighted at the moment is, not just say, okay, I'm going to just go about my everyday life, and then once a month or once a week I'm going to do a yoga practice, and that's going to be the way that I connect with spirit. No. This time is really about how can you bring spirit, how can you bring God, how can you bring your soul into everyday routine, mundane, whether it's washing the dishes, whether it's going for a walk in nature, maybe taking out your headphones and being mindful as you walk, right? Being mindful as you wash the dishes. We can bring consciousness into everything. We don't have to be just sitting on a meditation cushion or doing a yoga practice. We can bring our higher self into everyday mundane things. And I really believe that's what this axis is about. Like, can you ground that spiritual wisdom? Can you bring more of that forward in your everyday and actually create a life for yourself where you're in alignment with your soul, and not keeping it as like a separate thing, like something I just do on the side when I have time? Like, no, it's making it an everyday practice. And actually Saturn is conjunct this moon, this full moon, and Saturn brings boundaries, Saturn brings restriction. So I feel like Saturn, making this conjunction with the full moon is saying, like, can we bring maybe discipline to our spiritual practices? Maybe it's like, okay, I want to meditate every morning for 5 minutes, and Saturn's going to help us create that structure, create that discipline, so that we can integrate more of our higher self in our everyday life. So I really feel like that's kind of coming through at the moment. Saturn, what's really interesting about Saturn rules karma. And you may be aware that Pluto just recently moved back into Capricorn. And that's this is the last time Pluto will ever be in Capricorn in our lifetime, unless we live, I don't know, hundred thousands of years. But if the age continues to stay the same, like most people living up to like 80, 100, whatever it is, then this will be the last time that Pluto is in Capricorn in our lifetime. And Saturn rules Capricorn, so there's this whole idea of karma, right? Like within ourselves and within the collective. And Pluto is the planet of death and a rebirth, and it's like rise of the phoenix energy. So it's like Pluto wants us to really do the shadow work on this old karmic beliefs, patterning, ancestral karma, things that we've been carrying from maybe past lives, from our childhood, that we need to let go of. And it's like we've moved back into Capricorn at 29 degrees, which is a critical degree in astrology, because it's kind of the last degree before Pluto moves back into Aquarius, and it'll stay in Aquarius for the rest of our lifetime. So that's going to bring a very new energy to us. But it's like Pluto, right, wants us to go into our karma. I've noticed for myself, things that I thought I dealt with like, months ago or a year ago, it's like come back up again, like just recently. And I really believe that's that Pluto moving back into Capricorn. It's saying, this is the final time, like I want you to go deeper on this wound, on this karma, and clear it once and for all, so we can move into this new energy. And I think we all have to do that. We have to go into the deepest, darkest parts of us that we don't want to look at, right? Again, it's all shadow work. Pluto is shadow work. It wants us to collectively do this shadow work so we can fully move into this age of Aquarius and birth this new world, which we're going to do with the Aquarian energy, which is very much about the collective and the grassroots and a win-win for all, right? Capricorn's kind of a little bit about structure and hierarchy, and that whole paradigm is crumbling. We can see it in the outside world, right? We have to look at maybe within ourselves, like this old patterning, where are we playing out these karmic loops in our lives, and really going into the nitty-gritty and actually looking at it. And because we have these beautiful axes with the Pisces and Virgo, that energy is very healing. Pisces and Virgo are healing energies. Feminine energy is healing in itself. And so this is a really good time to do deep healing. So this is a time to bring up the things that need to be felt, that need to be looked at. Do not run away from it, because it'll probably come back even harder into your life. So the best thing you can do, if something's coming up, take time to sit with it, journal. You know, if you want to do an embodiment practice, move the body. Maybe you need to shake. You know, there's lots of somatic practices you can look up on YouTube. Maybe you need to punch a pillow. Maybe you need to like run. Exercise for me is really good to move things out of my body. It like gets me out of my head and into the body. We really want to get out of the head here, come into the body, come into the heart, trusting our intuition and just moving the energy that needs to be released. Anything that's like self-inquiry, self-reflection, this is a good time for that, okay? So make sure this eclipse season, you're really taking time to do some inner work. It's really important. Like really think about what's coming up for me, you know, particularly if it's like something that like it's a childhood wound or something in your relationship. I really feel like that could be coming up now to be healed, and it's a good time to heal because we have this beautiful feminine axis happening. Also, what I'll say is Pisces is ruled by Neptune, and Neptune is conjunct. So Neptune and Pisces are right next to each other. Okay, so that means that emotions might be heightened and people might be very sensitive at this time. So be kind, be compassionate. I mean, we should always be kind and compassionate, but particularly now, particularly for people that are not maybe aware of these energies, that are not aware of what's happening, that are maybe not on a spiritual path, that are not doing, you know, trauma work or shadow work, things might be coming up. Okay, so let's all, for those of us that are doing this work and we're conscious, like let's be kind. Let's be the leaders in this area of how we can nurture ourselves and love ourselves and be compassionate and be patient and be understanding and be empathetic. You know, this is a time for that right now, because people might be very sensitive emotionally. Like things might be, you know, people might be getting easily triggered right now, and things might be coming up again so they can be healed. We can't heal something when it's in the dark, when it's a shadow. We need to shine a light on it. That's why it comes to the surface. So another reason why I feel like this might affect our relationships is because Venus, which is the goddess of love, of harmony, she's in Libra, which is a harmonious placement because Venus rules Libra. Libra is very much about our one-on-one relationships, and it's opposing Chiron in Aries, and Chiron is like our deepest wound. It's the wounded healer archetype. So yeah, because it's opposing Venus. So Venus wants harmony and balance and love, and it's opposing Chiron in Aries. So it's really about like bringing up our wounds, like our deepest wounds. Often they are from childhood, or they could be past life. Often like past life karma we carry into our childhood, and then sometimes if we don't resolve that childhood trauma, what happens? We end up attracting a partner, an intimate partner in our life, who I suppose mirrors back to us that childhood wound, so that we can heal it, right? So you might find if you're in a relationship, just be wary that things might be coming up. It could be a very tender time. Wounding, particularly like deep wounds, okay? Like this is often like deep wounds around self-worth, around not feeling safe, maybe not feeling like I matter, not feeling enough, like things like this, like a really deep-seated wound. We all have it, you know, and this is a really good time to, if you know where your Chiron is, like just becoming observant of like where your Chiron is, and knowing that that might be, particularly if you're in a relationship, that could be coming up at the moment. If you don't know where your Chiron is, I just want to mention here that I do offer astrology readings, which I mentioned in the beginning. So, I'm going to leave links below if you want to book a reading with me and we talk about your Chiron, which is your deepest wound. It's also your greatest gift. So once we heal our Chiron, the beautiful thing about it is we can actually offer that medicine to others, and we can heal others who have that same wound. So there's always light to darkness and to our shadows. So the more we can heal it within ourselves, the more we can heal it with other people and help other people, which I truly believe we're all here to do. We're all here to help and heal one another. So I think that's all I want to share around the lunar eclipse that just happened. So again, I just want to emphasize, it's a time when emotions can be high, people can be very sensitive, deep wounds can be coming up to the surface to be healed. There's this real focus on healing energy at the moment. So my suggestion is be kind to yourself, be very gentle with yourself, be whatever you do to feel nourished and safe and secure. Maybe it's taking a bath, maybe it's spending time in nature, maybe it's meditation, doing a yoga class, going to a women's circle. Like these things, whatever nourishes you emotionally, this would be a good time to focus on that. And again, if something is coming up, just know it's coming up to be healed, it's coming up to be released, it's coming up to be integrated, so you can step into your highest timeline. Okay, eclipses once again are all about growth and transformation. Okay, so trust everything is happening for a reason. If things are coming up, it's coming up for a reason. If things are falling apart, if things are breaking, if everything's feeling chaotic, it's happening for a reason. It's often through the mess that we can actually birth something new. Think about a baby being born into the world, right? What happens during childbirth? I think most women will agree it's not like, this walk in the park. It's quite messy. And that's kind of how growth and transformation is. It's not this like picture perfect, step-by-step, cookie cutter, easy path. It's often messy and chaotic, and it can really feel like we're being pushed and pulled in all these different directions in order to birth this new version of self. So it's not easy, but the rewards on the other side, like think about birth might be, could be traumatic for a lot of women, but on the other side of that is a beautiful baby. And I think every mother will agree that no matter how painful the birth was, it was always so worth it, because once the baby was born, it was like all of that pain you couldn't even think about, because what's on the other side is so beautiful. And that's kind of how eclipses are. It's like we're birthing this new version of ourselves, and sometimes it's painful in the process of that growth and transformation, but on the flip side, it's like the most beautiful thing you could ever imagine. Yeah, so think of it like that. So the final thing I want to talk about is the solar eclipse that's happening at the new moon on the 2nd or 3rd of October. So for those of you in Melbourne, it'll be on the 3rd. It's happening at 10 degrees Libra Aries axis. So this is the final time that we're going to have a Libra Aries axis. For the past year or so, we've been all the eclipses, the past eclipses have been this Libra Aries axis, which is very much highlighting relationships. So here we go into the relationship theme again. So I don't know about you guys, but like this past year, I've seen so many couples break up since the previous eclipse, which was Libra Aries. So it was very much highlighting imbalances within relationship. And I noticed like, I shouldn't laugh, but since that time, so many couples have been breaking up in my field. And I'm like, what the hell? I personally am single, so I haven't really been feeling it. I mean, I've felt different energies, but like the whole relationship thing hasn't really been a theme I've been personally dealing with. But I know for a lot of people that's been coming up, because I've spoken to a lot of people about this, and I've seen a lot of relationships fall apart because there was an imbalance. And Aries Libra is very much highlighting where there are imbalances, particularly in our one-on-one relationships. It doesn't have to be intimate relationships. It could be also business partnerships, any kind of one-on-one relationship, but it does play out a lot, I find, in romantic, intimate partnerships. Could be friendships as well. Could be like one specific friend that you have. So it doesn't have to be romantic partner, but I find that it often is. So maybe you're in a relationship and you've been feeling it for the past 6 months since the last eclipse, that, you know, there was this real tension being played out, where Aries energy is very much about me, myself. What do I want? What are my desires? What do I want to manifest in my life? And Libra is very much about we. It's about partnership. It's about balance. It's about compromising, like a win-win for both. It's like, how can we both win? Where can we meet in the middle and both of us win? So I really believe this axis is kind of showing us where maybe we are either giving our power away in a relationship, right? Because again, we still have Pluto in Capricorn, so it's bringing up that karma, and I really feel like this karma might be playing out in relationships. So it could be, and Pluto, what I wanted to say there, is very much connected to our power, right? Personal power. So it could very much be in a relationship, particularly one-on-one relationships, where am I giving my power to someone, right? Maybe I'm not speaking up for myself. Maybe I'm just letting someone else manage all my money and I don't get a say in what to do with my money. Like, I'm just trying to think of tangible examples for you guys. Maybe I'm afraid to ask for time together. You know, maybe you really want to spend more time with your partner, but you don't want to come across needy or codependent. So maybe you're not actually stating what you need, right? So that could be showing up in this axis. On the flip side of that, it could be, where am I taking power from the relationship? So for example, say I have a wound around, maybe I was cheated on in a past relationship, so I have a wound around being cheated on. So maybe my partner wants to go out with his friends and go drinking and whatnot, and that's triggering that wound in me. So maybe I'm acting very controlling towards that partner, and I'm like, I don't want you to go out, you're not allowed to go out, or every time they go out I will be passive aggressive and, you know, be kind of manipulative and make them feel bad about wanting to spend time with their friends. And that's coming up from a wound within me, right? So you're taking power from that person, because we all have free will. That's not to say you just let your partner do whatever they want, but Libra is very much about balance. It's very much about, how can we both win? How can we find this, you know, middle ground? How can we see things from both sides of the fence and find like a harmonious result for the two of us? That's very much Libra. So that's kind of really highlighted for the final time. This is the last time we're going to have these axes in an eclipse. For the next one, next year, it'll be that Virgo Pisces axes. So that's kind of the new energy coming in, which is very divine feminine, which is exciting. And this relationship axis that we've been seeing for a while, the Libra Aries, this is the last hurrah. Okay, so I really am feeling this strong emphasis on relationships, this eclipse. And I want to say it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to make your relationship fall apart. It could be really great. So if you guys are meant to be together, it might be bringing up things so that you can take your relationship to the next level. And what I want to say as well is, new moons are all about new beginnings. It's about setting your intentions. It's about manifestation. What do I want to call in? It's a new cycle. It's very different to full moon, where we're letting go. It's like the old, we're letting go of the old. The new moons are kind of like, what do I want to call in? So because we have at this solar eclipse on the 2nd and 3rd of October, the sun, the moon, I think Mercury, all in Libra, okay, and it's about new beginnings. This could be a really good time to meet your soulmate. You might meet your dream partner, the love of your life, at this time, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be some scary thing. Or it could be like a rebirthing of your relationship into this beautiful, harmonious relationship where both of you are balanced and getting what you want. And from that place, that's where we can truly thrive, right? Because relationships, yes, they're about compromise to a certain degree, but I really don't believe that we should ever feel that we're never able to fully express who we are in a relationship, because at the end of the day, we are already whole. Like, from a higher perspective, we don't need another person. You know, this whole like thing about like, oh, this person completes me, I'm looking for my other half. Honestly, that's a load of crap. There is no other half. There is no you need someone to complete you. You already are whole. You already are everything. You have masculine and feminine within you. You already are the sacred union. And the beautiful thing about this new paradigm of relationships, this conscious relationship that we're moving towards, and that's why I think that we had these eclipses with the relationship axes for the past year or so, was because that old paradigm of relationship, like I need someone to complete me, that's dying. That old structure, you know, like I need someone to make me feel whole, that is dying. That is old energy. That is very disempowering. You know, what we want to see in the future, and I really believe this is the new conscious, sacred relationship that we're stepping into, is where two parties both know that they are whole as they are, right? They're not looking to take something from the other person. They already recognize they have everything within themselves, and they fill up their cup with so much love for themselves, knowing that they are whole, right? Having that connection to the divine where they know that they are perfect and whole as they are, and then coming together from that place, it's like the love within them just overflows. And rather than trying to take something from someone, all you want to do is give love to that person, because you already know that you are whole. So you're not trying to get anything from them. You're not trying to take their power to make you more powerful. You're not trying to take love from them to make you feel love. You already know you are powerful. You already know you're whole. You already know you are loved. And from this place of fullness, of wholeness, you just overflow. And what a beautiful space to create a relationship from, when you're both just overflowing onto each other, where you have nothing you want to take from that person. You just want to shower them with unconditional love. And I really believe that's the new paradigm of relationships that we're stepping into. And we're going to see more and more couples modeling that kind of relationship in the future, which is so exciting. Because can you imagine if these couples, right, have children, having that beautiful, harmonious, loving, unconditional loving relationship? Like, imagine the kind of environment the children will get to grow up in, right? A lot of us didn't have that beautiful mother-father dynamic I personally didn't in my childhood. And so these kids that are coming through, if they're to have conscious parents and modeling the conscious masculine and feminine in the family dynamic, those kids are going to grow up so, they're probably going to have a little bit of trauma. Like, I don't think we can avoid it, but they're not going to be as traumatized as our generation and the generation before. And because they won't have all that trauma that they're going to have to deal with, they're going to be able to access their higher self more readily, more quickly, and step into their purpose and their mission, and to create change in this world, to really like focus their attention on bringing new innovative ideas to healing the world, to really restoring our environment, our ecosystem. Like, I really have so much faith in the next generation, and a big part of that is us healing the relationships on planet Earth, so we can have, you know, this really strong, healthy family dynamic for those children that are coming through. So I probably just went on a whole tangent just then, but I think that's kind of all I wanted to share today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you were able to follow. I just want to mention again that I do offer astrology readings, and I will basically like look at your birth chart, and I'll look at, you know, maybe your wounds, where you want to go in this lifetime, what you're healing, what gifts you have, what you can tap into. So if that is of interest to you and you want to know yourself at this deeper level, I'm so happy and excited to offer this to people in my community. I'm going to leave the links below so you can book that in. And just to really reiterate this message, eclipses as I've mentioned multiple times in this episode, they're not the easiest of times, but they are times of great transformation, growth, healing, and just soul alignment. And so if you really are wanting to step into your highest timeline and live the life that you came here to live, like if you're on your deathbed, and you look back at your life, you want to be able to say, you know what, I did everything that was in my heart. I followed my heart. I followed my truth. I showed up authentically. This is what these eclipses are about. It's getting you on that timeline so you can look back at your life and you can say, you know what, I did what I came here to do. I have no regrets. I wish you all a beautiful and peaceful and easeful eclipse season, and I will see you next week, my loves. Take care. Mwah.